We'll call the Board of Southwest Vermont Supervisors Union to order. The Board of Directors on Wednesday, June 27th at 7 p.m. For the agenda, we have public comments, finance, operations related, treasurer report, renew food service contract, award cleaning contract, consent agenda, minutes, warrants, resolution, retirements, position proposal, and nominations, and the policy 7192, superintendent, chair's report, and others. Then there's some for your information things attached. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, or is there anybody wishing to add more? Okay, anybody wish to add anything? Change anything? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving to public comments. Anybody here for public comments?
I have a question. Am I supposed to be, are both, oh yeah, I see. All the MAU members are here. Got it. Good.
That didn't sound like a question.
It wasn't a question after all. It was just a noise.
Actually, just to clarify, Leon is the second MAU rep to the SVU.
Oh, are you alternate for MAU?
Yeah. So I was right.
Leon's probably referenced somewhere, but if he comes in, we'll make him sit
Yes.
out.
Well, all right.
We even have a name card for the alternates.
Yeah, look at that. Thank you.
Okay. All the boards here. With that, I don't know if I call the motion. All want to say aye.
Aye.
Okay. I did? Okay. Moving on to the finance operations related treasurer report.
Make a motion to accept.
This from me. Got a motion to accept. Get a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Renew the food service contract. Everybody got a chance to look at it? I'll take a motion.
So we are, we're going into year 3 of a 5-year contract. So the way that the contract is structured, it was a 1 year with 4 renewals. So it's just kind of a formality that we have to bring this back annually. One thing that I did want to note, though, in the bid, in the middle of the contract, there is a 5% increase to the administration and management fees of the contract, so it'll be going up by $4,000. But the guaranteed $75,000 of profit on the overall food service contract remains.
Okay.
I didn't see anything online or in the packet. So were we supposed to have gotten a copy of the contract?
It came out 2 years ago, so it's just an annual renewal. And I just wanted to mention that the change in the fee, but that probably was before my time, but should have been part of a packet.
Okay, so I guess the question that we're asking is if it's an annual renewal, we as a board will move to approve it as the annual renewal. And I have a motion, but I don't have a second. Second. Further discussion. Ray?
So that increase was built into the contract?
It was part of the bid document. So as it was originally bid, it was bid as a 5-year term.
Right.
So in year 3.
Is there, in year 3, this is the only year in which there's
Correct.
this increase?
Yes.
Okay. Other questions, comments?
I guess I'm just a little uncertain about whether you described it as a formality, and whether in fact we have an option. Is it a 5-year contract with an escape clause, or?
Oh, and there's termination clauses in all of our contracts, but when we
cause.
originally put it out to bid,
Yeah.
it was bid as a 5-year. But the
Okay.
way that the USDA requires us to execute our contracts is that it's a 1 year with 4 optional 1-year renewals.
Okay.
And we've always done that.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Any more questions?
My only question was, if it's a 5-year contract, why do we have to vote on it?
I would vote on it because we're not firing them for cause. And so we're just approving that.
Well, I mean, you'd have to bring that up.
We renew it every year. It's a 5-year contract, but every year we renew it because in the past, when we had other companies, and we had more than 5, we had 3, I think it was, and we decided that we were having problems with them. Since Maureen has taken over, She has requested a 5-year, but we didn't want to wait 5 years to renew it. So we said, we'll give you a 5-year contract, but we will renew it every year. So in that year, if there was any problem or anything, we would know.
So basically, it's a one-year contract, renewable.
Renewable 4 times.
Yeah, it's not a 5-year contract, it's a one-year contract, renewable.
We bid it
Would it,
as the 5 years, so we knew what we would be looking
Yeah.
at. So, you know, individually each year, we know what the
but it
fees
has a
will be.
renewable clause in it by the sound. As long as everything's fine, here's what, you're gonna renew it each one of these years for 5 years.
Correct.
Okay. That's understandable, but if it wasn't, then we take different action. Okay, any more questions? Great.
One more. So the food service committee reviews this, and it's their opinion that we should renew it as a matter of course this year.
Okay. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? One opposed, nays?
I think that was a good answer.
No, it was not brought up at a recent food service committee meeting. The bids were evaluated when it was put out to bid
Yep.
2 years ago. And that's the point where the food service committee made the recommendation to award the
They
bid.
don't review actual events during the past year?
Oh, yeah, we do,
That's what I was asking.
yes.
Yeah, you want to know if there was a performance review of any sort.
Are they performance reviewing it, and are we following their recommendation?
There, yeah,
That's what I wanted to know.
understood.
I only voted no because I didn't hear it confirmed.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Award cleaning contract.
So, the end of April, we received a notice of termination of our contract with the Cheshire Cleaning. They'd given us a 30-day notice, so we were planning on having them well, I guess it would be May 25th. Unfortunately, they ran into some personnel issues, and they tried diligently to hire. They went to temp agencies, and they were unable to attract and retain staff to keep up their end of the bargain. So they actually ended up terminating their contract even sooner than 30 days, which left us kind of in a bit of a situation. We are very grateful for our staff who have stepped up to help out. We actually have had some teachers, paras, Abbey Group employees coming in after hours to actually do some cleaning. We've had teachers cleaning their own classrooms. We have managers at the central office cleaning the central office building. So we've been making things work, but we did actually go out to bid in it was the end of April. We got bids in May, and unfortunately we only received one for the SVSU. It was from Janitronics, so it's the company that we were with previously. The bids came in very high, and we did some negotiations, and thankfully I was able to get them back in line as far as the SVSU goes. So I'm here tonight to ask the board to award the bid to the one and only bidder, to Janitronics, and for the administrative offices and the early education building on Division Street. The total contract would be $37,454. What we have budgeted is $37,200, so I'm $254 in the hole, but it was more than double when we originally started, so we were able to get it much closer in line.
Any other discussion?
Are there, sorry.
It's a one-year contract with an optional renewal annually for 2 renewals, so it would be a 3-year potentially.
That was one question. My other one was, are there any buildings as part of this union that they're not cleaning?
So we are contracting with them individually. So the BSD board voted to award the cleaning contract with them. So they are responsible for Monument, Benel, and Molly Stark. Woodford opted to go an alternate route, and then the SVSU, with the 2 buildings that we have under the SU umbrella, is the bid that we have from Janitronics.
Any other questions, comments?
Historically, I don't know how long Janitronics was involved, but.
It was over a decade
Okay.
that they were with us before. The reason also too, just so you're aware of the increase, because they lost the contract, they had reallocated their staff and reallocated a lot of their equipment, so they do have some startup costs associated. But they also found that the wages that they were paying in the area previously really weren't retaining staff, so they actually are hiring at a wage near or above $14 an hour, so that's actually helped them with recruitment, and they're satisfied now that the folks that they have coming on board are going through background checks now, that they'll be able to maintain a staff and make sure our buildings are kept clean.
Okay. I had a motion in a second, right? Richard, did I have a motion?
No, you didn't.
I didn't?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank
consent
you.
agenda.
Move to approve.
Got a motion to approve, got a second?
I have one item that it got on electronically, but it's not here, because we got a request for leave of absence from a Molly Stark paraprofessional. We got it yesterday afternoon. So I know that Karen added it if you looked electronically, but it's not on paper, and that's Melissa Losella, Molly Stark, NECC paraprofessional, requesting a leave of absence. Their contract does allow that for childcare.
That's an attorney. Any further questions on any of the others?
Yeah, pass that to Richard.
All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Policy 7192.
Move to warn.
Any discussion on the policy?
Just a couple of notes that were, one of the things we run into in policy development is we get input from many members of the public, and the reason for the changes, which are in italics in this policy, is because someone from, I think, Shasberry, brought in a suggestion that we alter that wording. The rest of the policy has remained the same.
So, previously, the correspondence didn't need to have a telephone number, or is that not the change? Or
It said address, name, address. I don't have the file with me, and address went from the time when we first developed this, which might have been 10 years ago, is now electronic address for some people, and phone numbers, if available. People don't have house phones anymore, so there's a lot of little changes like that. But the intent of the policy remains the same, and the italics are the only changes.
Okay, any further discussion on it? Okay, all those in favor of warning it say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nays? So carried. Superintendent report.
Hand out you a press release. You all saw in the paper that there was a electronic transfer of funds out of a account belonging to the Pownell School District. This is the SVSU official release on this, because it still is a police matter. We're not going to comment in depth, but and I don't think I need to read this. We'll post this on our website. You all have it. And Renee and I could answer questions for you, but we really feel that we're somewhat limited for those who, because of the ongoing investigation. But what we do know, and what does say, here, malware got onto one of the computers at the SU from an email that was opened, and from what was a legitimate appearing email that put the malware on the computer that allowed information to be taken, that allowed that money to be transferred out. We have every confidence. I learned a lot about how electronic banking works through this process. The worst case scenario is our insurance covered it and it has a $5,000 deductible. The best case is that there is a full payment back. The money did not get to its final destination. It is still being held by Bank of America and People's United, and they have, when we're told, up to 90 days to investigate and return. The request has been made for the return on our behalf from People's United Bank, who I have to say, I think is personally, I believe, been outstanding in their support during this. I have to commend both our finance, HR, and our tech department for the alert. Within 20 minutes of that email coming in, we all got an email alert not to open this. And finance, HR got an alert that a transfer had been tried, which then put them on to the tech department, which then started the whole ball rolling, so there wasn't any further damage done. I know that Renee's been meeting with the treasurers to see what other protections that we can put in place so that this doesn't happen. And when I say I've learned a lot about electronic banking, is how the timing of actually when this happened was crucial. That money's transferred electronically twice a day in batches, and this was right at that time limit, or within a few minutes before, when that batch went from People's United to Bank of America. So, and we do believe it's the origination of the email came from another country. And Renee and I will answer whatever questions you may have within kind of the limits of what we're talking about, because we don't know where this investigation will go. But panel will get at least $45,000 to $50,000 back, and I do believe, my hope, that you'll get it all back.
Well, I think we should congratulate our techs and stuff for catching it as quick as they did, because it could have been certainly more than just one account that could have got moved quickly in the industry when it's electronic. And if you're stating where they wait until the actual transfer, they knew when to move money.
It appears that they did, yeah.
So, and we're just one of many in the country that has this happen to them. But again, it really makes a difference on how quick you can respond, recognizing the error, and I think that's, you guys deserve some credit for that recognition right away. And that we had the foresight to add cyber insurance to our policy about 2 years ago, maybe we added that to it. So I think Ray's got a question. Yeah, Ray.
Just a grammatical correction in the second paragraph. The sentence beginning with malware, effected there is incorrect. It should be affected.
Yeah.
I don't know who will be asking to correct that language. Will it be our attorney, Renee, or was that the finance department? Thank you, Ray.
Well, thank you for that report.
Okay. I wanted to say that I want to publicly thank, she's not here tonight, but hopefully she'll listen. I want to thank Assistant Superintendent Dr. Donna Leap. I know she's been thanked at some of the meetings as she makes her rounds. By the time you have your August meeting, she probably won't be here. She is retiring. But she has been a trusted colleague and a friend to me, and I will miss working with her. And I'm going to deviate from my report for a minute to ask Board Member Dick Prince. I know that you have a prepared letter that maybe you could read into the minutes.
Okay. Dr. Leap, the Board of the Southwest Vermont Supervisory Union has acknowledged your retirement with regret. You have managed many areas of our system efficiently and calmly. You have been a leader in researching evaluation standards for administrative personnel, which you translated into a working format for committee personnel. We thank you for being a strong contributor to policy development, including follow-up on subsequent legal consideration and structuring administrative regulations that help interpret those policies. We thank you for your steady guide in creating curriculum plans. You have applied the ever-changing and confusing maze of state and federal standards to a working matrix for teaching professionals. We thank you for the many public presentations to board members on various aspects of our systems, which might help us make reasonable decisions as we move forward. Your stamp appears on many more issues of the supervisory union operation, from the smallest item to the overall picture. We thank you for your dedication, your calm approach, and your steady hand. As you plan for retirement, take with you the knowledge that we've been enriched by your efforts on our behalf. For the Southwest Vermont Supervisory Union School Board.
Thank you. I will add that my first week on the job as superintendent, Donna was walking out the door. She had intended to retire at that point, and I am very grateful that she met with me and agreed to stay on. Initially, just if those of you who were there remember, she worked part-time. She did 3 days a week, we then went to 4 days a week, and then she finally completely convinced her to come back. So grateful for that, and thank you. Last day for the staff is tomorrow. As you know, the students were done last Thursday. I want to thank the staff, principals, administrators, parents, everyone for understanding this was a late year with a lot of snow days that impacted that and relatively minor problems with winding down the year. But I thank everyone for their cooperation and understanding and being flexible on what we were doing at the end of the year to make it all work. I did attend Mount Anthony Union High School graduation. It was a very nice ceremony. They was able to do it outdoors, which is always nice because then everyone can be invited and it's not becoming a ticketed event inside of the rain. That night, I thanked outgoing Principal Laura Boudreau. I'd like to again thank her for stepping up and being the acting interim principal for 1 year. I think she did an outstanding job in righting that ship and handing it over to the new principal, Steve Nixon, who will start next week. So thank you, Laura. Speaking of principal openings, tomorrow we're going to do the second round of interviews for Molly Stark principal. Dr. Mike Mewitz announced his retirement. I'm hoping, so the screening committee did an interview and brought some candidates forward. So tomorrow the interviews will be with the directors and assistant superintendent and myself, people other than who's on the screening committee, so we get a different opinion, different view, different set of questions, different scenarios, and hopefully that by the end of the day tomorrow I'll be able to tell the BSD board that we have a finalist. Speaking of filling positions, we honored Dr. Leap this evening. After this meeting tonight, I'd like to meet with the 3 members of the Personnel Committee, the SU. When I spoke with the chair following the policy for setting a screening committee for that, he suggested that I use the Personnel Committee. So that's Cindy with Ray and Dick France. So I have a packet for you to take home to read on some candidates, so don't leave without seeing me, and then we can set up something. I'm thankful to hear that come Saturday we will have a state budget. So I want to thank our area reps and senators for their hard work and their lengthy work to get this this third attempt of the budget. I am concerned about the one-time use of funds to buy down residential rates in 2019, which Renee and I are concerned about, along with others, not just Renee and I, but about the impact on rates in 2020. Though I do take a little comfort in knowing that that's what we heard in the beginning of going into this fiscal year, that we're going to see, before we even had any increase in our budgets, we were going to see, we were hearing 8, 10, 12-cent increases. That didn't prove to be the case. They're projecting right now that even a level funded budget for 2020 will have at least a 2 cents increase before we do anything, because of they won't have that the one-time funds that they do this time. One thing that's coming out of this budget that we're going to this budget bill that we're going to need to address sooner rather than later is we're going to need to study how the impact of a statewide teacher's health insurance for contracts starting in July 1 of 2020, how that will impact us. A lot of work, those of you who are in negotiations, and we've spent a lot of time, a lot of work to get our health insurance to a place that we thought it should go. I'm not convinced with a statewide plan, because we've already seen those savings in our health insurance locally, what plan that we ultimately negotiate to, and how statewide negotiations for health insurance is going to work, I don't know, but it's something that we will study and monitor. So that is part of this budget bill, is that teachers' health insurance will be a statewide plan with contracts starting July 1 of 2020. So that will be a change. Two other things. It doesn't really affect the SU board, but it affects a lot of the schools in the SU board. You know that we had a dental clinic at Molly Stark. There's a dental chair at the middle school here. There's one at the high school. There's also a dental suite or room at Benel. But lack of dentists or hygienists have impacted the use. Had a meeting today with Bennington Oral Health about restarting the clinic at Molly Stark. My understanding of it is it was more of a corrective or restorative dental practice at Molly Stark before. There was a dentist who was correcting damage done to teeth, where the new emphasis is going to be a hygienist with concentration on prevention. So, too. So I know that they want, finding a hygienist, finding space, finding funds, but we're committed to, we want to ramp up small, and maybe, so we're committed to helping them any way we can. But this demand on space, I have a principal who, and a generic principal who sees an empty dental space not being used, and I need to use that room for something else, and trying to preserve it so it doesn't become another space for small group instruction or counseling. Because the schools are, particularly the elementary level, are crowded for not classroom crowded, but clinical space, counseling space. Older buildings that weren't really designed for the way a lot of education is delivered today, but we're working. And with many of you in this room, I participated in MAU board training on the open meeting law. It was part of a settlement agreement the MAU had concerning an open meeting violation. One thing that I'm going to suggest to the SU board is that or all boards, I think it is training that all members could benefit for, but particularly maybe an annual training for all board chairs and vice chairs, rather than traveling up to Lake Maury like we did. We could do something here. And I should point out that that training was done by the SVSU law firm Stitchell, Page and Fletcher, and there was no charge for that because our contract with them gives us 2 training days annually under that contract. I use them 1 day training in the past with principals on issues, legal issues for principals, and this is the first time in my time that I think we've used them for board training. So that is available to us under the contract, so I mentioned that's something to keep in mind, that as we, going forward, I think it would be a great suggestion for all boards to continue that training. So that's it.
Okay. I don't have much to report other than recommending not to have a July meeting. I hear a lot of boards aren't doing theirs in July. I would recommend that unless we have some special need, which we can call a special meeting, we won't have a meeting in July.
I'm not aware of any board having one, but they all are on notice that if the need arises, a special meeting.
Okay. And I did attend the training, and I agree with our superintendent that certainly all board chairs ought to at least go through the Vermont open meeting law, and especially if we're able to do it under contract without having to pay anything additional, it would certainly be a plus. Just what you see is the reason why we did this is simple mistakes that people sort of just doesn't recognize. What happened, somebody went in an executive session without holding a first meeting and then moving to go to an executive session. That's a violation. And there's lots of little things like that that people might not think of because they're so used to just coming in and let's have our executive session and do, but the motions have to be made and you have to go through the process. Otherwise, you're not following open meeting law. So I think that type of training is excellent, and certainly now I've gone to the school board association's trainings on these, and I've gone to, what I found was that the attorney went through it in much more depth and was very much responsive to any questions that was asked, which is, they're the ones that have to defend us on these things. So that's the place to ask and do the work. So I think that's a perfect way to have our dollars used. All right, with that, if there's no other business in front of us.
Eventually, I'd like to revisit a weapons position statement. I realize it's not on the agenda and we're missing a number of board members, but several months ago I proposed this and I don't know what the feedback from local boards has been. I just believe it's a critical issue that we need to get out there.
I think, I'll throw on to them. I know it was presented to every board, but I'm not positive every board actually discussed it, and some may want to put it on a future agenda, but we'll
follow up.
Yeah, we'll give that some follow-up.
If I could get it on the agenda so we can at least discuss it, that would be a good
For the August meeting?
See where we are.
Okay.
Because last time we tabled it until we heard back from other boards.
Yeah.
And I think rather than open it up again, and if we end up with the same solution, I'd like to hear back from these other boards. So if we can hear back from it, it'd be great. Okay, any other business for us? Now, I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thanks for coming.